Hi everyone, it's me, Stuart Semple. I'm the artist that created this stuff, Black 4.0, my new super black paint. Today I'm going to give you a really in-depth video showing you how to get the most out of it when you use it in your work and go through some of the most obvious and normal use cases just so you can make sure you get the perfect finish with this incredible material. Let's dive in. First things first, what is it and what will you get? So you'll get this, which is the box of Black 4, and inside you'll get the bottle of the latest super black paint. Most important thing I can tell you before you even start is shake it, and shake it really well. It's likely to have spent a while travelling, maybe it's gone through different temperatures, maybe it's even been on a boat at some stage of its life. So make sure you really shake the paint. Now, Black 4.0 is an acrylic paint, which means it will stick to just about anything if you use it properly. So we're talking about wood, metal, plaster, paper, canvas, ceramic, you name it, it will go on it if you plan things properly. So the first thing you need to decide is the surface you are painting on porous, i.e. it soaks things up, or is it shiny? That will determine what route you take when you apply the paint. Let's have a look at some examples. First of all, I'm going to paint this, which is a ceramic bear brick style bear. And you'll notice straight away that he's quite shiny and quite crispy. So he's going to need to be treated differently than something that is porous. So you wouldn't paint him in the same way you'd paint a piece of wood or a piece of cardboard, for example. The next thing I'm going to paint today is this, and it is a cardboard pulp 4. This is a porous surface and it's going to soak up the paint, so we need to treat this quite differently. And the last thing I'm going to paint today is this, a very shiny metallic coin. And of course, I'm also going to show you what happens when we paint it directly on canvas and paper, because I know a lot of you will be using it like that. So first of all, our super shiny bear. He's going to need to be primed first, because sadly, if I put Black 4 straight onto a shiny surface, it's going to slip off. Now, the best thing that I found to prime a shiny surface is my Black 2.0, because it sticks to just about anything. So I'm going to prime my shiny non-porous thing with Black 2.0 to get it ready. It's a really important tip. I absolutely love using these, which are left over from food, and it's a really good thing to reuse packaging. So first of all, little bit of Black 2.0 squeezed out. I love this stuff. Oh, it smells delicious. Right. Then, top tip number 1, always use a soft synthetic brush. And for this one, I'm going to use this, which are Pro Arte sterling silver brushes. They're my favourite, but Liquitex do really good ones as well. Painting, tiny bit on the tip of your brush, not loads of gloopy paint, just a little bit. And then we'll come over to our shiny, non-porous object. And what we'll do is oh my gosh, look at that, I love this. Can you see how well Black 2.0 is sticking to this surface? It's unbelievable. And sadly, you won't get that out of the new Black 4, so that's why we put the 2 down first. And by the way, I've not dipped my brush in that paint again. That tiny bit I put on initially has covered the whole front of that. And that's how little paint I want you to use. To get a really good coverage, use as little paint as humanly possible and make it go as far as you possibly can. The tiniest bit really does go a long way, and just look at that unbelievable coverage. Okay, right, so whilst he dries, let's take a look at this. Porous object, so what does that mean? This is going to drink up paint like nobody's business. It's going to soak in, and it's not going to achieve the super black. So we need to prepare this. We need to seal this porous surface with something. So if your work's porous and you think it's going to be thirsty for the paint, I recommend the simplest way to seal that is with this stuff. Good old white school PVA glue. You don't have to buy anything really expensive, anything clever. There's a lot of art materials companies out there who can sell you all sorts of weird and wonderful sealing mediums. They're a load of nonsense. Get yourself some PVA glue, mix a little bit of water into it and coat your object with that. Normally, I would just put a little bit out, a little bit of white glue, and I'm just going to add a dash of water to that PVA glue just so it runs a bit better. And I'm doing that by eye. I've been doing this for 25 years, so I just know how much, but it's literally 50-50 is about right. Again, nice soft synthetic brush, nice soft bristles. This one is the Liquitex Freestyle, very nice brush. Not quite as expensive as the Pro Arte ones, so for those of you on a budget, I really recommend them. They're lovely brushes and they really will help you get a much better finish. Now, mix a little bit of that together. And again, reusing our food packaging because we don't want this to end up in landfill and it's really useful in our artwork. Now, here's our porous 4. And we're choosing 4 because, of course, Black 4.0 is the blackest black. And we're using the number 4. And I am applying that really liberally. I'm sloshing that all over the place. This is one time where more is more, and you really want to be quite generous and you want to seal it completely. Now what that's going to do is make a little bit of a membrane, a bit of a layer, that means that when you paint over that with the Black 4.0 in a minute, it is not going to soak in and it will sit on the surface, which is what we want, because otherwise we're not going to get that super black finish that we're after. Now we're going to let that dry, and we're going to let that dry properly and thoroughly. We are not going to rush this. We're not just going to start painting over this while it's wet. We are going to be patient. We're going to go away, do something else. We're going to come back in about an hour's time. So next up is the coin, and I think you can guess already how I'm going to play this. This is shiny. This is definitely not porous. Nothing is going to seep in. It is shiny metal. So we're going to have to give this an undercoat, and we're going to use our good old trusty friend, Black 2.0. Let's take a look at how that goes. Nice soft synthetic brush, and again, the Black 2.0. Again, look at that coverage, it's unbelievable. And I've got to say, the Black 2.0 is really, really black. I mean, at the time when I created this, it was one of the most extraordinary paints that anyone could use. And there it is, it already looks really black. Let's put that to one side and let it dry. And of course, it will get even blacker than that when we go over it with the Black 4.0. It's unbelievable. And while we wait for all of that to dry, last but by no means least, let's have a look at what happens when we paint on good old-fashioned paper and good old-fashioned canvas. Okay, so paper and canvas is really easy. We can go on them straight away with Black 4.0. No clever preparation needed. This is going to go down a treat. First of all, squeeze a bit of the Black 4.0 out into your palette. And there we go, just a little bit. First up, paper. Nice synthetic soft brush. I'm using the Pro Arte Sterling Silver. Tiny bit on the brush, don't overdo it. Going straight on the paper. And I will do you a very nice, very simple love heart today, I think, because I'm feeling in a loving mood. Not very much paint, not overdoing it, not trying to make big gloopy, lumpy, bumpy things. Going on using as little paint as possible. And although the paper is soaking it up, the paper absolutely loves 4.0. Now, you're absolutely welcome to add a little bit of water to your 4.0, and here's a little trick. If you want to get more of an inky finish, it's totally possible to dilute 4.0 down by as much as 40%. So let's add a little bit of water to it and just see how the flow changes on the brush. Some of you illustrators may be trying to do marks, maybe trying to get a flowy line, maybe you're using a special kind of brush and you don't want it quite as thick as this. That's totally possible. Let's see how that works. So let's see what happens if I try and make a watery ink out of Black 4.0, because you can actually dilute it. Let's have a look. I've added a little bit of water in here, and I'm slowly adding a little bit of Black 4.0 to the water to make a nice thick black colour that actually has a lot more flow, and you see it's quite rich and it doesn't really drip, and that's really nice. So let's see what we can do when we paint with that. Can you see how nicely it comes off the brush And this will enable us to do all those beautiful, fine, illustrative flushes and flourishes, and we can paint it in like this. So yes, it isn't quite as black when we add water to it, but it works so beautifully, and this is going to be really useful if you do any sort of pen and ink style work. So you can get that out of your Black 4.0 too. Now let's take a look at the heart I painted earlier. Okay, are you ready? The heart I painted earlier is now almost dry, and I'm very excited to show you how black and brilliant and how rich and deep that has come out. It is like black velvet. It is like a black hole in a piece of paper. Are you ready? Oh my gosh, look at that. And that is straight out of the bottle onto a piece of paper. And it's not even dry yet. You give that another half an hour, and that's going to get blacker and blacker and blacker. So paper, super easy. Now let's take a look what happens when we do it on canvas. So for the canvas test, I have one of these canvas panels. It's canvas board. It is a board coated in canvas that has been primed. This is obviously painted with gesso. For those of you who don't know, a chalky-like substance that takes paint very well and gives us a little bit of a tooth for things to stick to. 9 out of 10 of you, when you go to paint your canvas, will have a finish similar to this. And the good news is you can go straight on this with good old Black 4.0. Let's see what it looks like. Again, the process is super simple. We're just going to squeeze the Black 4.0 straight out into our palette and then paint the canvas with it. Nice amount of Black 4.0 squeezed out there. And again, as always, nice soft synthetic brush. And it's my good old favourite, the Pro Arte. Here we go, a little bit on the brush, don't overload it. We want to use as little as possible, we want it to go as far as possible. We'll go straight on to the canvas and we will just very gently, very gradually work that paint over the canvas, and we will take our time, and by spreading it out as far as we can, we're going to eliminate brush marks because we want a really flat, really black surface that absorbs all of that light to give us that black hole void type effect. There's something quite therapeutic about painting a massive white canvas black. And again, if you find that's a little bit sticky for you, you can always add a few drops of water to help with the flow. I actually really like it like this because it means that I get a chance to work it into the surface. And I think that's really useful to get that effect. And it is a very special paint. It's gonna feel different to what you're used to. It is gonna go on differently. It's not like your normal paint. It does take a little bit of getting used to, but once you crack it, I promise you'll fall in love with it. I mean, I love this stuff. So let's take a look at our lovely Bear Brick Bear. He's now coated in Black 2.0, which is fully dry. So that's been about an hour, and I'm happy that we're ready to go again. So he's now ready to take some Black 4.0. Nice soft brush, as little paint as possible, starting at the top, making it go as far as we can. And it's a shame in a way I didn't show you what would happen if we didn't prime our bear, but the Black 4.0 is going on a treat. It is sticking really well, it is not slipping or sliding, and our bear is looking beautiful. So I'm going to paint the whole thing with one nice thin coat of Black 4.0. And we're just working it in there. Nice and gently, and you'll notice I'm deliberately not leaving any lumpy, bumpy, weird and wonderful bits. And I'm moving quickly, I'm working across the whole surface, I'm almost dry brushing it on there, and I'm just working around the bear. And it's incredible, even though the 4.0 isn't dry yet, you can see it's significantly blacker than the 2, which is unbelievable, because when we made 2.0, I really didn't think we could make anything blacker. And look at it now, that's absolutely mind-blowing. Just gradually and patiently working my way around the sculpture, making sure every little nook and cranny is covered in this incredible material. Now I don't know what that's looking like to you, because here in the studio we've got some quite bright lights on me, so you might not be getting the full effect of this, but from where I'm standing the bits where it's starting to dry are looking like a very strange, almost fuzzy black velvet, and that's exactly the effect that I was hoping for, so I'm very pleased with that. Right, so that's my bare coated now in Black 4.0. I'm going to put that to one side to dry. Now, if you've got all the patience in the world, and I would recommend it, maybe going over with a second coat of Black 4 would be well worth your while, but let it dry for a long time, 5-6 hours before you put that second coat on, and it will be just beautiful, because it's inevitable. You will have missed a couple of little bits because you're painting black on black and it's almost impossible to remember where you've been. Anyway, let's put him to one side and let's see him later when he's ready. Now let's take a little look at the status of our coin. The Black 2.0 is now dry and it is ready for a coat of Black 4. Let's see what happens. Going in now with the Black 4.0, and as expected, as I hoped, it is going on. Oh my gosh, wow, all the details disappearing. That's crazy. It's like I can't actually see the indents anymore of the pattern that was embossed in the top of this coin. That's crazy. Now, just you wait. As this dries, it is going to get blacker and blacker and blacker. And then, in about 2-3 hours' time, this coin is going to reach peak darkness and it is going to be unbelievable. I can't wait to see what this is going to look like. So straight on to the number 4 then, porous surface. Those of you working on cardboard or wood or even something like plaster, this demo is the one that you need to be paying attention to, because this is how you're going to get the best out of Black 4 in your project. So I've now sealed that. That has had plenty of time to dry. That PVA school white glue has created a barrier here so the paint won't seep into the surface. It will sit on top of it and it should be beautiful. Let's see how the Black 4.0 goes on. Tiny bit on the brush. Working it across the surface there. And it's interesting, it feels a little bit sticky, and that's exactly what I'd expect. So it may feel a little bit different than acrylic paints you're used to using, but don't let that put you off. That's just the nature of this stuff. And you can see already where it's starting to dry, it's getting blacker and blacker and blacker. And as I say, this stuff does seem to continue to get blacker and darker over time. And I've actually noticed when I come back to things I painted about 24 hours later, they seem to be at about peak darkness. So it's quite incredible stuff, and you can literally see it transforming into that black velvety effect right in front of your eyes. Whoever said watching paint dry is a boring thing? It's actually quite fun. Being thorough, but I'm not trying to paint back over places I've already been. I'm going to leave that for a second coat. So I'm not trying to do a second coat while I do the first coat. That's really important because so many of us go back over the bit we've just painted before it's fully dry, and I recommend against that. You're much better off doing a patchy first coat, letting it dry and going over the whole thing again with a second coat. You'll just get a much better finish. Every time I use it, I get excited because I start thinking of all the potential of what's possible and what I could make, and almost finished. And nothing but a paintbrush as well, you know, you don't need any clever spray painting stuff or anything like that. There you go, and I'm going to let that dry and then we'll have a look how it looks. Okay, so now the moment of truth. Here is that canvas panel that I painted, and as you can see, it looks like a black, beautiful void in the world. And check this out. There is our amazing 3D, now almost 2D bear. And the amazing thing about this is, I don't know if it's coming across on the camera, but he's almost fuzzy, like he's been covered with some sort of flocking or velvet, and he really is trapping so much light. That is unbelievable. And now for my favourite of all. Here is that super shiny coin turned into a black hole in my hand. Wow, that is just utterly mind-blowing. And here we go. Here's that beautiful 3D Black 4 now coated in Black 4. And I think that's come out really nicely. I'm really pleased with that. So there you go, my top tips of how you can get the most out of Black 4.0, the blackest acrylic paint in the world, in your own work. Just to recap, First of all, shake it really well. If you're painting on paper or canvas, don't worry, straight from the bottle, nice soft brush. If your surface is porous and it's going to soak up paint, seal it. And I recommend PVA school glue. Nice layer, mix with water, leave it to dry for a long time, go straight over it with the Black 4.0. If your surface is shiny, like a metal coin or an ornament or some ceramics or something glossy, then go over it with Black 2.0 first. That'll give the Black 4 something to stick to. That's basically it. So have a lot of fun with Black 4.0. Make sure you share your work on social with the hashtag #CultureHustle so we can all see what you get up to. Enjoy. Bye for now.